what we wanted to do as today is we wanted to talk a little bit about negotiation, about the selected aspect of negotiation, and we decided to choose. Negotiation intelligence as our focus, yeah? Something that we will define in a little bit, and I'll explain a little bit what it is and what we do at HHL to foster it, measure and compare it. But the main objective here, guys, is to how should I put it? To give you guys a taste how it is during our lectures, during when we teach. I strongly encourage you to take this time if you have questions as far as content is concerned, but also about our teaching methodologies or how we, I don't know, perceive and treat each other, and anything else. Yeah, use this time for it. Yeah, this is not only about negotiation, because how much can we discuss in an hour? Yeah. But to me, it is very important, and to Petra as well. To us, it is extremely important that that you guys get a realistic feeling of how it is to be in a lecture during your studies. Yeah? So what you will experience, you're about to experience, is not taken from a lecture. Yeah, this is something that I put together especially for this session. But the way it will be discussed, presented, and approached I'll try at least to do it exactly the way I do it with our negotiation courses during the full and part-time programs at HHL.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, Petra mentioned that I should start with introduction. So yes, I'm based in Hamburg, and I think the reason our relationship with HHL has flourished so much is because we both believe that we are growing in this relationship. Yeah? What does it mean concretely? When I first arrived at HHL, it was many years ago, almost 2 decades ago. No, not almost, more than 2 decades ago, and it changed my life completely. And I do hope that you guys will experience this as well at some point during or after the program you'll enroll to. Why has it changed my life? For many reasons. Yeah. First of all, I was able to find and nourish my passion. Yeah. I worked with really cool people like Petra and some of my colleagues I'm still in touch with. I met a lot of extremely smart, highly ambitious individuals, yeah? And so sort of had to find my way how to lead leaders. Yeah? How to lead leaders in a sense that many of our students, yeah, end up either building their own companies or working in high levels, high places of sometimes SMEs, sometimes large multinational companies. But what characterizes us after HHL is that we still want to deal with each other. And very often right now I have 2 students working with me together, two of my former students working with me together. And this has been the case almost throughout my whole career. That people either working with me joined HHL later on, and or we met working on the same team, at the same company. This is something which I encourage my students also to remember. There is a high level of probability that we would meet again, and this is something we should keep in the back of our mind when thinking about our interactions with each other. Yeah? Something you will certainly experience in our future course if you or when you join HHL, because negotiation for many years, negotiation has been permanent part of HHL's curriculum, and still is. Yeah, still is. So at HHL changed my life. Yes, I found my passion. I was able to nourish my passion there. I was able to go to Harvard's program on negotiation and other places where there are lots of crazy people who devote their time to studying and teaching negotiation. Yeah, but also the network that it created, the network that was especially valuable in my business experience. And this is something that I also keep bringing back. So my courses, negotiation courses that you guys will take, are a mixture of both theory and practice, and a healthy mixture, in a sense that they have a solid foundation in science. This is something that I still enjoy doing at nights and on the weekends. Yeah? But at the same time, they are not only based on books, because I do not know anyone who has become a great negotiator just by reading one book or the other. Yeah? Becoming a negotiator means combining knowledge with experience, and this is something which I very much focus on in my courses. Okay. So I promise you guys that this is not going to be just a listening exercise, because it never is. If you join us, if you take my course, you will notice that that my course is a permanent dialogue with students. We, from the very first minute, we keep discussing things. And if you don't discuss it with me, you discuss it with your colleagues. And this is how this course is built. It's not so much about interactions with smart professors who have read one more book than everybody else, or a couple more papers than everybody else, but it's also about interactions with between each other, about challenging your assumptions, about discovering your intuitive reactions in certain things, and maybe also triggering the necessity, the need to change them, to work on them. And this is something you will experience in much more intensively during our course. So speaking of which, let us start with my first question. Let us start with my first question. If you think about, and by the way, how are we going to answer them? I see that there are more and more of us. So it's probably not going to work so well with unmuting yourselves. Share your insights in the chat, and I will gladly read them out as we go through them, and comment on them as well. So the first question is, what are the top 10 leadership skills that you expect to learn or to need once you will have graduated from HHL's programs? What do you think? So we have communication skills, vision guidance, so tolerance, empathy, decision-making based on information. Wow, these are almost, these are really great ones. Creating a vision. What do we have? What else do we have? Creating a vision. Communicating with your followers, being clear and transparent about the next steps, solving problems, passion. Thank you so much for this one, because this is a central theme for me. This is a prerequisite for delivering great results. Strategic thinking, strategic thinking, being able to receive criticism. Wow. I see immediately that we are dealing here with adults, who are self-reflective, who know why they want to take a break and study, or study in part-time. Making correct decisions on gray areas, yes. Offering and following a purpose, critical thinking, mentoring, risk management, be convincing, emotional intelligence, persuasion skills, braveness. Wow, these are really good ones. Inspiring and motivating people. Read and influence the room, critical reasoning, being an active listener. Wow, so many. This is to me a strong indication that I'm about to meet people with lots of ideas, people who want to contribute, and these are the best classes ever, that consist of those who not only want to receive, but also who want to share. What else do we have? Being an active listener, something that you will hear from me many times in our course, what it means to be an active listener and why it is important to use 2 of these instead of 1 of those, more often. Proactiveness, cross-functional skills, push others to reach new heights. Wow, sounds like a motivational claim of Simon Sinek or others who are in the motivational space. Push others to reach new heights. Okay, good. Yes. So believe it or not, this question was systematically investigated in one of the reports written by World Economic Forum already a few years back, but still it's something that in my opinion remains just as relevant now, maybe even more, as it was before. And I'm so happy to see that that you guys have nailed most of the skills that you see on my screen now. Creative problem solving, judgment and decision making. Many of you have mentioned the ability to make decisions, because what does it mean to be an executive? To be an executive means acting in the presence of a scarcity and making the best out of it, the best out of your resources and constraints that you're facing. So judgment and decision making, that's something that some of my colleagues will help you understand better, but also critical thinking, creativity, emotional intelligence. Some of you guys said empathy. That's exactly what it is all about. Yeah, that's exactly what I think is at the core of becoming not only a good manager, but a smart leader. And the ability to, to align my preferences with those, with those of my teams, of customers, clients, and so on, right? And by the way, I'm extremely disappointed that not a single person mentioned negotiation skills. No, just kidding. Some of you guys described it, put it into different words, the ability to persuade, the ability to convince, the ability to communicate with others. This is somehow how negotiation is very often described. But next to making decisions, one of my very good friends of mine who used to be a dean at one of the Canadian business schools once told me that when he was a dean, 80% of his time of an academic institution, but I think it works also for other institutions, 80% of his time he devoted to resolving disputes between people from his company. And about, I think Jeff Bezos at once said that as an executive, your task is to make path-breaking decisions. And if you take 1 or 2 of those per day, that's already good. The remaining part of your day is about building relationships with you, with your customers, with your employees, and resolving disputes. Or working on projects. All right, so let's pause this for now. Let's pause this for now. What is the message here? The message here is the following. Among the most important 10 most important leadership skills that you guys need to possess, you need to think about also to what extent or to how good of a negotiator you are. What that concretely means, we will discover on our next slides, but it does belong to a core set of managerial and leadership skills. And I am absolutely certain that it's there to stay. All right, so first of all, we've established that it's important. But we have not talked yet about what it is. So guys, without Googling in Wikipedia, right? when you saw the title of this presentation, you also certainly not for the first time, but you also saw negotiation intelligence, right? So what is negotiation anyway, right? How would you define it? If you were asked to put it in words, how would you describe negotiation as such? Any attempts? Don't Google it. Just think about it and share whatever you think is a good summary, a good definition. Finding the golden mean to get the best outcome for two parties, finding a compromise, an ideal situation, creating a win-win scenario, to persuade others in order to get a desired result, discuss a topic from different perspective, agreement between two parties for a win-win situation. Wow. Okay. I see a lot of win-wins there. I see a little bit of a compromise there. So if we, just a second. If we follow the definition from Getting to Yes, which is by far one of the most frequently read books about negotiation in the world, written by Roger Fisher, Bruce Patton, and Bill Urey, William Urey, whom I had an honor to meet. Roger Fisher was considered to be, together with Howard Reifer, the fathers of negotiation science. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago, but I was still able to meet him in person during my research stay a long time ago in Boston. But according to Getting to Yes, a definition of negotiation includes two elements. Oh, yes, we have some more voices in the chat. So let me maybe reveal these two elements. You guys see them on the slide. First of all, it's a communication process. And this is something that we will have a closer look during our course at HHL. What does it mean? Some of the aspects you guys already mentioned, the ability to listen, actively, preferably, but also the ability to be clear about what's important to us. Something we will spend time talking about in more detail. But what is the second aspect of this definition is the intention of this communication process. So that's not just a quick chat about the weather, or how are you? I'm fine, right? That's not negotiation. Negotiation is there when at least some of the interests are not perfectly aligned. So you want this and I want something else. Okay. Because only in those instances, only in those cases, we need an agreement, right? So, in other words, negotiation, as Howard Reifer once put it, a negotiation is a joint decision making. Why joint? Because it takes two to tango. A seller becomes a seller if and only if he or she finds a buyer. And finding a seller makes buyer a buyer. Okay, so what it means is that this embedded or ingrained inherent need to find an agreement, yes, the need to find an agreement is an inherent part of a negotiation definition. Okay, and that's the purpose of this communication process. So we just don't talk for the sake of talking. There is a very clear element in this definition, and that is we talk because we want to understand each other better. But second, we want to get to an agreement. When I ask you then now, why we need an agreement? Any guesses? Any voices from you guys? Why do we need it? Why do people need an agreement? Apart from the obvious, right? Because their interests are not aligned. But why do people, which we already mentioned, but why do people need agreements? What do you think? For profit, Kaushik, very good. Yes, that's a very capitalistic answer. External authority forces them. Okay, so the boss tells you go there and find an agreement to reach a common goal, to avoid a conflict, to reach goals, to make progress in common topic. Okay, let's try to find a common denominator between all of those answers. Okay? So what does this agreement change? Amrita and Kaushik said this agreement gives us profit. Okay, so what does it mean? With profit, obviously, with profit, and why do we need profit? Let me put it, let me rephrase the question. Why do we need profit? Any possible hostility in making a change, maybe of any form? Why do we need profit? That the other side is not disappointed later. Okay, fair enough. Why do we need all of this? Try to find a common, create trust, common ground. Okay, that's we're getting there slowly. We're getting there slowly. What happens after the agreement that is not there before? What do you think? Development, alignment, development, improve relationship. Okay, to get ahead with something we want, success. Okay, yes. So those of you guys who might have motivation, who might have studied economics, yeah, in economics, by the way, myself included, in economics, we called all of these things, hey, Julian, thank you so much. That's exactly what I was looking for. We call all of these things value. This is value is a mysterious term for the things that are important to us. Yeah. So everything that you said is right. Yeah? Everything that you say is right. We negotiate to reach an agreement. Why do we need to do? Why do we need to reach an agreement? We need to reach this agreement because because we want to trigger, release a situation in which this value becomes available to us. Okay? So in other words, I engage in the negotiation process, and believe me, there are many people out there who dislike it strongly, especially in Germany. Yeah? The propensity to negotiate, this is a term we might discuss in a little bit more detail in our course. The propensity to negotiate in some countries is higher than in others. Okay? So for example, in Germany, it's fairly low. But when we go to India, everything is negotiable. Yeah, there are, obviously, I'm exaggerating, but I've been there, and this is what I'm hearing from my students still, from every class every year. Why? There are no price tags. There are no, that's not the reason why people negotiate, but it's ingrained in the culture, yeah, that the value is defined by the interactions of the buyer and the seller. Yeah? In other words, to wrap it up, why do we negotiate? Because the buyer can only become a buyer if the seller says yes. Yeah? I'm generalizing, obviously, and I'm sure you guys are with me. Same goes for the seller. The seller can sell his goods only if the buyer says yes. Yeah? Both want to invoke a final situation in which value is released. Yeah? What is the value to the buyer? The buyer gets the goods that he or she desires. What is the value to the seller? The seller gets rid of the goods, but in exchange for revenue and hopefully also profit. Yeah? So there is an embedded interdependence between the parties. Yeah? Embedded interdependence between the parties, and this interdependence leads to the fact that each of them have, or both of them have to make a joint decision. Yeah? And only a joint decision, when both say yes, releases the value. Okay, fair enough. So now let's revisit. The top 10 managerial or leadership skills that we've already talked about. Yeah? With a closer look, we will discover that four of them are closely related to negotiation, or are a part of a negotiation process. Okay? In other words, complex problem solving. What is negotiation? Negotiation is looking at the situation, your interest, my interest. What can we do to work together? How can we unlock the value that transacting between each other potentially can create? That's a complex problem solving part. Creativity, because it's not so much about convincing each other, something that smart negotiators understand. It's not about who is more right and who is more wrong. Very often it's about, hey, that's what you want, that's what I want. Let's think about how we can both get what we both want. Yeah? In other words, it changes a perspective from a confrontational style, hey, I'm stronger, I'm more right, to creative problem solving style. And in a sense, I acknowledge that it's important to you. I hope you understand what's important to me. Let's think together how we can deal with it. Yeah? Complex creativity, complex problem solving, and judgment and decision making. At the end of the day, it is a decision of both parties. Yeah? So as you see, it looked like a brief mentioning of the concept of negotiation, but a negotiation is ingrained or is important also in 3 other aspects that are critical for the future leaders that you guys are bound to become after HHL, or maybe you already are. So, in other words, when we look at this definition, and this is something which I how should I put it, which justifies my existence and existence of many other negotiation professors around the world. Yeah? There are 2 reasons for including a subject in an academic curriculum. Okay? First, the future graduate needs to know them. Okay? Second, the future graduate has to be able to do them. Yeah? So either it's knowledge or skills. Yeah? And with negotiation, it's not only about knowledge, as we correctly pointed out. Reading these books behind me have not made anyone a better negotiator. Not a single person. Knowing things, yeah, has very little to do with the ability of doing of performing those tasks. Yeah? What is the difference? Yeah? The difference lies in the fact that one of them is just knowledge, the other one is skill. Yeah? And negotiation is clearly a skill. Yeah? As I included on this slide, just like sports, dancing, music. So and now I wanted you guys to tell me, what are your superpowers? What is the most interesting skill that you guys possess? Yeah? Anybody in sports, dancing, music, or anything else that makes you special among the 32 participants of our today's calls? Any superpowers? Anybody? Empathy. Wow, Julia. Nice. Julia's superpower is the ability to put herself in the other person's shoes, and the ability to empathize. Okay, fair enough. Believe it or not, empathy is partially determined by talent, but it's also something that people who by nature do not have a lot of it can learn how to display. Anybody else? Anything else? Any other superpowers? Last chance. Any superheroes among us? Bringing people together. Okay, that's a quality of a great leader. Adaptation. Chameleons, for example, have an ability to adapt. And mammals, humans, analytical thinking. All right, these are all skills, and skills have 2 components. First, we are all blessed with more or less talent, yeah, with different starting points. Second, yeah, regardless of where the starting point is, we can all learn to become better. Okay? Just like sports, dancing, music, and everything else that you've mentioned, all of the other superpowers. Obviously not in Marvel terms, because it's hard to learn how to become invisible, right? But when it comes to skills, such as we define them, negotiation is a skill, and that's why it's taught on the university level. Okay? This is something that we at HHL have done for at least, and I deliberately added at least 20 years. Those of you guys who have dealt with the history of HHL, you guys know that we've been around for 127, 28 years, yeah, over 100 years. Yeah, HHL is older than Harvard, by the way, believe it or not. Yeah, one of the oldest business schools in the world. And I do not know whether in the time before, let's say, before reactivation of HHL recently in the 90s, whether there was a negotiation course back then already. No way of knowing it. Probably even if it was probably disguised under some other complicated name. But in the newer history of HHL, we have at least 20 years of negotiation teaching, something that is very dear to my heart, yeah? Something which I strongly believe, yeah? And that's the reason why I keep coming back to HHL. That's my contribution to, and that might sound kind of strange to you guys because we might not know each other so well, but something that makes us and this world a little bit better. What do I mean by this? The ability to find agreements, smart agreements. The ability to find smart agreements improves the quality of our lives. Why? Because it's not about the shortage of conflict or scarcity of conflict. That is there, that is given, and you can rest safely assured that that the amount of conflict will probably not change anytime soon. It's enough to look around us, read the news or watch the news if you have TV still, and we will immediately see that the amount of conflict is simply omnipresent, yeah, in our today's lives, yeah? And it's not bad per se. Yeah? Conflicts, if managed appropriately, can lead to better solutions, improved relationships, and so on and so on. However, what does it mean to manage conflict properly? That's something that you might find out in a negotiation course. We won't be able to go into too much detail in this short presentation, but what I wanted to signal is that at HHL, your time at HHL is not only about the salary at the end of the day that you would get as an HHL graduate. Yes, it comes with a package, and yes, typically statistics says that you're going to be happy with it, hopefully, yeah, or at least that's what statistics indicates. But you know, there are outliers in all directions, typically to averages. But apart from that. We hope that your time at HHL and the courses you'll take, including hopefully also a negotiation course, will make you better leaders. The leaders who can turn conflict into the ability to create value. And this is something that we will deal once you get here. Let me maybe ask you another question. I'm very curious to to hear or read to read about what great personalities, be it contemporary or historical, come to your mind when it comes to great negotiators. Hey, Angela Merkel, she is one of the best. I think by far, at least in terms of contemporary. Churchill, okay, Martin, wow. Metternich, okay, he was also a good one. Angela Merkel is definitely one of the world leaders of today. By the way, she received an honorary doctorate from HHL. Nelson Mandela, from two of you guys, yes, absolutely. The end of apartheid in South Africa was very much attributed to Nelson Mandela. Narendra Modi, yeah, very good. Also a contemporary negotiator. Anybody else? Anybody else? I prepared a couple of them for you guys, and we won't have the time to discuss them in a lot of detail. But let me just pick one of them, Charles Maurice de Talleyrand. Yeah? Funny thing, this guy is a synonym of a cynical diplomacy or greatness in negotiation, depending on how you look at it. What do I mean by that? Talleyrand was a foreign minister, or had some sort of a function in foreign services of the following administrations, and now hold there. Yeah, Louis XVI, when he was guillotined, yeah, he was a foreign minister for the French Revolution. Yeah. When French Revolution was replaced by Napoleon as emperor, Talleyrand was his foreign minister as well. Yeah. I think Napoleon said once that he didn't trust him, but he needed him. And then when Napoleon was stranded on the island of, what was it, Elba, I think, if I remember correctly, Talleyrand became the foreign minister for Louis XVIII, yeah? And even for Louis Philippe. Yeah? So in other words, regardless who came, yeah, regardless how many heads were rolling left and right, yeah, Talleyrand not only managed to survive, but he managed to represent that regime, government, whatever you want to, or the ruler, yeah, in the world. He became his face to the world, right? regardless of what this face stood for in terms of the set of values and so on. Yeah? So many diplomatic scholars think it's a perfect example of what cynicism is all about. Many of my colleagues who are in the case of involved in negotiations say, well, isn't that a perfect negotiator? Not only was he able to save his life through all those changes, but above all, he was able to remain as a key representative of those governments in foreign services. Mahatma Gandhi. Yeah, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King. So regardless of the fact of their background, yeah, we have a civil servant, we have a minister, we have a lawyer, right? They all achieved greatness in their sense through the way, or by the way, of being able to find solutions, yeah, in cases where at the outset the two sets of interests, yeah, were completely opposing. Yeah? And I think the more opposing the interests were, the more talent and negotiation skill we need to be able to reconcile them. Yeah? I think there are many examples of great negotiators. I think some of them you guys have already mentioned. Angela Merkel, one of the greatest contemporary negotiator. But what all of them have in common is something that in one of our papers we call the negotiation intelligence. Yeah? What is negotiation intelligence? Brief summary. We define negotiation intelligence as the ability to intuitively and quickly recognize the situation, both in terms of not only in terms of issues, yeah, meaning what are we there to negotiate, but also in terms of structure of those issues, structure of those interests, and the attitude of the negotiation partners, and be able to apply the right tools and methods that optimize their performance, in that particular situation. Yeah? And this is something which we systematically look for in not only our courses. Yeah, we use our courses, negotiation courses, to help you guys first of all find out what those tools are. Yeah? So how do I react if the situation is like this? What do I need to do? If the situation is like this, what do I need to do? Yeah? But also, it's we help you guys to make intuitive decisions quicker. How do we do this? We do this by contrasting your intuitive reactions with scientific results. Yeah? In other words, what do I mean by this? I mean, negotiation is, when we reduce it to the to the extreme, is just like talking. Yeah? So we might almost venture to say that all of us can negotiate because all of us can talk. Nothing more wrong than this. Yes, we can talk, and yes, we might be able to say things while negotiating, but negotiating wisely, it's much more than just talking. In fact, many of my students at the end of the course are so surprised that it's my course. It's so little about rhetorics, about being eloquent, about having the ability to voice our thoughts, and so much more about listening and analyzing the situation and producing creatively options that fit to those situations. So, and this is something which is learnable. This is something which is learnable, something that once you've experienced is very hard and maybe not even unnecessary to unlearn and forget. But so far, I'm guiding you guys towards a very important point, and that is, I think by making certain mentions in the chat about greatness, about mastery, who was able to display more or less greatness, and about, let's say, mentioning the fact that we teach negotiation to help you guys become better negotiations, to build your negotiation skills. We can ask ourselves, or we did actually ask ourselves about 15 years ago, why do some of us, or how come that some of us achieve better negotiation results than others? And we started doing a few things. So first of all, let me maybe share with you, show you guys how it looks like. We set up a negotiation center. I will share the link with you, so you guys can at some point, when you have some more time, you can have a look at it. We set up a negotiation center. That's something I wanted the least to happen the least, which is a think tank that does certain things, publishes paper, does research, tries to popularize the topic of negotiation among students, but also among professionals. But above all, it also organizes negotiation competitions. And this is another context in which negotiation intelligence has profound importance. We realize at some point that if this is so critical for future managers or lawyers or whatever, future leaders, if it's learnable, if it's offered at the university level as a skill building course, then we must be able to test and compare it. In other words, we offer our students, and not only the students around the world, a possibility to nourish their passion. And let me share this one with you as well. Nourish their passion and compare the negotiation skills in competitions. So we organize two types of competitions, for professionals and for students. The one for students has gathered a lot of attention. So it happens annually around March or April. And next one is going to take place in Beijing, if fingers crossed, if we manage to beat COVID and get rid of the necessity to go into the quarantine for 14 days once arriving in China. But I'm still, if not, we'll find a different solution. But I'm still confident that the world in next April will look completely different than it does right now. Anyway, so what it is a structured competition that has gathered a lot of attention, has hosted students of some of the best business and law schools, and not only, from the world. Yeah? And I mean the best of the best. Yeah? Typically, it attracts a lot of attention from those who are passionate about the topic. And why? To give you guys an idea, there are teams that have already started preparing for the competition in April next year. Okay. In other words, there are schools that have structured programs which are designed in a way so that they, first of all, select the best students, put them into the best team, and allow them to practice with each other, so that they can optimally compete together in our negotiation competition. Something that we, 15 years ago, it was just a crazy idea. It was just a crazy idea. So we just looked each other in the eyes and said, "Hey, let's just do it and see what happens." And it has reached tremendous impact. We go to different places every year. This year we were supposed to be in Barcelona. Last it didn't work out. Obviously, it took place online. Last year we were in Kyoto, in Japan, and San Francisco, Athens. Many years in Leipzig, also at HHL, Paris. Reykjavik on Iceland, and very many other places. You guys are welcome to explore the details on our website. But if you get to HHL, it's something that you might want to explore, especially if the topic of negotiation is something that you're interested in. I don't want to bore you. At the end, I wanted to make sure. That you guys get a little bit of an insight into some of our research on negotiation. And one of them is extremely relevant for the competition. That means how do we measure negotiation performance? It's not a trivial question, because having struggled with it for 15 years in the context of the competition, we realized that we need a systematic set of criteria that distinguish a good negotiation result from the bad, or a good negotiation process from an excellent one. Okay? And this is something we published recently this year. Funny enough, it seems that this paper is gaining a lot of traction. By the way, with a former HHL MBA alumna, yes, we are using the result of our research we are using to judge the negotiation performance in the context of negotiation competitions. And with that, I would like to end the free sample. A free sample in the sense that a brief sneak peek into what we teach and how we teach. I think if it raised your appetite, sincerely hope that it has raised your appetite for more, both in terms of HHL and Leipzig, as well as more negotiation. Let's use the remaining few minutes to take a couple of questions, so that you guys can also get, I don't know, addressed to me or Petra. She's still around, be it about the studies or whatever is bothering you at the moment. We would be more than happy. To tackle your questions.
There was one question already in the chat. Is the negotiation challenge open for listeners only? No, that's.
So what we typically do is we will try to stream some of the negotiations. Obviously, given that the participants give us their explicit consent, which means you will be able to view those negotiations on social media. We don't know exactly which platform we will use, especially if it's going to take place in China, which is somehow challenging when it comes to things that we use on a daily basis, such as Facebook and Instagram. Everything is possible, but some things are more or less difficult. It is something that we need to decide, but in general, yes, probably yes. However, why watch if you can actively take part? So the question should be not can we watch it, but where can we register? No, just kidding. There are a few other questions regarding overall study programs. How would you say is HHL different than other universities? I teach at a couple, and let me maybe share 2 or 3 remarks, and then maybe Petra can add a few things from her perspective. I think one point I would like to emphasize is the quality of the quality of students. Yeah, you will interact once you get here. You will interact with the smartest people out there. Yeah, and this is something, you know. I was, for example, extremely intimidated when I was invited to go to Harvard, because I said, you know, I'm going to go there, and they will tell me I'm an idiot. Yeah, I'm completely stupid. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Apart from the fact that it's not the case, but what I noticed is that the students I came across there, so be it a PhD or GD students, I didn't have so much chance to interact with undergraduate students, but graduate students I met, I'd say, very similar level, high intellectual standards, and something that I told Petra, especially if you guys are thinking about part-time programs, there's a lot of dedication. There's a lot of dedication that you need to bring with you, and this is something that makes it so much nicer for a professor to teach or to interact with students who know why they are there. Let me give you guys an example. I used to, for many years, I used to teach also in France at one of the best grand écoles there. And what I found out is, you know, when French students get to a grand école, their motivation drops to the rock bottom level. Yeah? Which means this is something you probably won't experience at HHL. Here, both intellectual capacity and the motivation matter. Maybe not for everybody. Obviously, there are how should I put it? There are people who are more motivated and those who exceed everybody else in motivation. Yeah? But in general, when I compare it to my other classes, we're talking about the Champions League there. Yeah. So that's one thing I think. And the other thing that comes to my mind is that HHL, due to its size, is a lot different in how we treat students. It's somehow that comes to us naturally, that you're not just a number, and you will never be. Yeah? So I know my students by the end of my courses by their first names, and very often we meet again and have topics to talk about. Yeah? So the relationship between you and the faculty, also staff, and is much different than at any other university I've seen. You're not a number, and you're not going to be a number. You will have a name. You will have a name, and you will see and meet a lot of people who care about you and your future. All you need to do is bring add a little bit of motivation, and you will have a great result out of there. Petra, is there anything you would like to add?
No, I think this was wonderful. I think we are a family, and it is what you said. And the students, I can only speak for also for the part-time students. They are highly motivated, and they are also down to earth. There is a lot of teamwork and spirit, and that's what it makes very, very good. Yeah, at HHL. Yeah. But there are so many other questions now.
Okay, you guys, it seems that you've already had your dinner, right? So we're going to spend next hour answering. No, but that's why we're here. Let's take a couple more. Quick question regarding the overall study programs. How would you, okay, that's the same one. Could you explain the negotiation competency model in a bit more detail? Of course I can. But I'm not sure whether you're not the only one who wants to hear it. Yeah, so let me maybe share my paper. I will give you a very quick ramp up of. I'm right now Googling for. Here it is. Googling for the right link so that all of you guys can have a look at it. Here it is. And basically what it is it structures based on the literature review. It structures things that we know matter in terms of negotiation result, understood as either substance, meaning what's the price in the buyer-seller negotiations, relationship, meaning what is the probability or your willingness to do business with each other together in the future, or the process. How do you treat each other while negotiating? So we've looked at a lot of papers, and we classified these findings into 3 categories. So first of all, the ability to communicate, meaning listening and speaking. I'm simplifying it to the maximum, but I'm doing just to do a favor to all those 29 people who are still there. Second, negotiation intelligence. That's a set of, I think, 8 or so criteria that test or are there to evaluate your ability to apply what matters in the situation in which it matters. And then finally, the third set of criteria is called something which we called moral wisdom. Moral wisdom, the ability to stick to your ethical standards, the ability to show empathy or strategic empathy, whichever it is. So that's a rough summary of what it is all about. I'm happy to go into any level of details on any of those criteria. Just let me know if you're interested. Okay. I think this question also triggers negotiation. Yes, exactly. It says MBS is good for technology, SMT for consulting, Frankfurt finance, HHL for what? Your one-word answer for your future.
Entrepreneurship and but also leadership. So yeah.
It's not as simple. I think it's probably a little bit more complex than this. Yeah. I think what is a special feature of the curriculum is that it doesn't treat you like a machine that is supposed to generate a certain output. In other words, if you go to this school, at the end of the day, you have to be this. It helps you become a better person and a better leader. And I will stick to this and will defend this because that's what education is all about. Yes, it has a tangible component, and that is the salary, and that is whatever work perspective you want to enjoy at some point. I'm slowly getting old, right? And I can slowly allow myself a broader perspective. What I think is that all of this doesn't matter. If you're a good person, smart and dedicated person, you'll always find your place in the world. and you'll always be surrounded by like-minded people that will help you succeed in whatever you believe is worth succeeding. Yeah? So I'd say become a better leader, have a better future, become a better person, not in terms of a price tag, but much more in terms of quality of life, and put it like this. All right, regarding the study, Petra, but you are the expert. I'm just, I'm biased, highly biased.
It's related to our part-time MBA program, and this is a 2-year program, and we offer 17 long weekends. That means our weekend they start at 4 p.m. On Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it's normally designed for candidates living and working in Germany. Also, we have 30% international students in the class always, but normally they live and work in Germany. I have only a few candidates flying in or coming from Prague. So, your next question is, there's 1 week planned for visit in Boston. Yes, we always, we have in the 2nd year of each of the program, we have 1 week in Boston. It's a nice combination of lecture visits at universities like the Boston University, the Harvard Business School, and mostly also at the MIT, and combined with company visits. So yeah, and we hope we can travel again. So, and what's the background of this experience? It's an option. So to join our global immersion seminar in Boston is optional. You can choose that option in your deep dives. And yeah, it's not obligatory to get or to join this, but most of our students joined the Global Immersion Seminar in Boston, definitely.
What's for dinner?
Maybe we are invited for dinner.
All right, let me maybe answer Jana's question. The way what you experienced in the last hour or so, that's what you will experience in my course. Exactly this. But hopefully more interactive and hopefully face-to-face. Yeah, in other words, my course is a permanent dialogue. Yeah, either between the students or between the class and myself. Yeah. So that was my goal for today. Not so much the content, but so that you experience at least my style. And I can imagine that despite the diversity of teaching styles, I think it's probably close to what at least younger professors probably would do. But Petra, you know for sure know more about it than I do.
Yeah, definitely. So we have a lot of the different courses and also simulation courses, and I would also like to answer Max's questions concerning. Oops. Max is regarding the MBA. What would you say? The minimum of work experience. Minimum of work experience, what we recommend to have at least 3 years of work experience. I think it's very important that you have already profound work experience to apply also the knowledge you get into your daily work life. So this is, but we have a wonderful mixture in the class. So that means we have young candidates with more or less 3 years of work experience, but we have also the more experienced candidates who have more than 15 to 20 years of work experience. So the mixture is that what makes the MBA program very, very helpful and beneficial for you. Yeah.
I think Florian, PMSC 7, I'm now trying to think and recall this class. I'm sure I still have somewhere the assignments even. So I'll look it up. I'll look it up when we are done. But I think Florian put it to the point. He made here the point, and that is you will feel what he just talked about. There is, for some reason, HHL manages to gather people who want to achieve something. And this something is defined by various, it might be different for different people, but definitely you will feel the spirit of, hey, let's do something that's really cool. Let's do some epic shit. Let me put it like this, yeah? In other words, you will feel the movement, the vibes of the class wanting to, and your colleagues wanting to change things, to change the world, and or benefit from it as well. Yeah? And this is, I think, something that that is very unique, very unique. This is not only, hey, let's do good assignments, but also let's change this world a little bit. Yeah.
Nice closing word.
All right, dinner is waiting, and I think Thijs refused to answer my my question. So I know that I'm supposed to have raclette today. Yes, it's getting cold, and it's December, and it's possible to. And it's possible to buy raclette cheese again. So we decided to use this this opportunity and enjoy it. I hope you guys enjoyed our little session. Yeah, you're welcome to stay in touch. I don't know, on LinkedIn or social media with us. Reach out to us if you have any further questions or anything. Would be happy to help anytime. Yeah, have a safe Adventszeit, safe Christmas season, and I sincerely hope that we will see each other again. Yeah,
I hope so too. Thank you very much, Remy, for your lecture. I really enjoyed it, and I hope all the candidates too. And maybe if you would like to use your negotiation skills, and we have another offer next next week on the 9th of December. We have the community talk, how to convince your employer to get your master study supported. So maybe you join us for this webinar. We have invited 2 alumni who are working in the human resource department and also pitched that for their employers. So they have the experience of both sides. So I think, Remy, you know Garrett. So you are in contact.
Of course, he was a student of mine.
Garrett will join us for that webinar, and I'm very much looking forward to that webinar. Yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. Have great dinners, and see you around.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.